What is up, everybody? It is Grace. Welcome to another video. I am fresh off of a top 8 at the recent Peak Beak 7 tournament, which I don't think it was originally called that, but whatever. I think it was out of like 70 people. I was able to get a top 8 with my original list of fairies. I want to talk about the deck. I want to talk about its strengths. I want to talk about its weaknesses. I want to go over some replays with you, and I want to talk about the tournament. So let's get into it. I know I said I was retiring from Yu-Gi-Oh! Listen, I know, but this game is simply a black hole from which none of us can ever escape, sadly. For real, I am just playing for a little bit ahead of the GOAT Format World Championship, and then I plan on, kind of stepping to the side for a while. My ultimate goal with Edison was to get this deck on the map, and the fact that I was finally able to do that, it really makes me feel good, and I think after this, I'm going to retire the format in this deck. But I just really was happy to do this with my own original brew of fairies that I'm very proud of, and I want to talk about the deck here, gush about it. I'll of course be honest about where it sucks, which you can probably figure some of that out on your own just looking at the list. But genuinely, I just was really happy to do it with my own list. And, I just really want to encourage people in these retro formats. I think it's easy to get in the groove of just playing, what everybody tells you is good. And, I just really encourage you, if you have like an idea or a concept that you think is unexplored, that you think has potential, that you have a gut feeling about, that, everybody else tells you is trash, like just, keep at it, keep pursuing it, because eventually you will succeed with it and it will feel really vindicating, which is, kind of what happened here. This is something I thought about a long time ago, but I was like, how cool would it be if I could bring shine balls into the top cut of an Edison tournament, of a Tengu tournament, which is not hard to do in Tengu, and a GOAT tournament. And I finally did that. So, achievement unlocked, as they say. Okay, let's get into it. So I know like the list itself, looking at it, really doesn't look like anything crazy or that impressive, but I have a very good track record in tournaments with this deck. I've played 2 tournaments with it. I went 4-2 and bubbled the first one, and this one I was able to get top 8. And to be, perfectly honest, like I don't feel like I'm playing this deck to its ceiling really at all. I'm not very good at like Yu-Gi-Oh! So just being perfectly honest, I don't feel like I am really playing, like I said, playing this deck to its ceiling. I feel like there are a lot of different lines that you can take when you play a deck like this. That's why I usually, like in GOAT format, stick to more stunny type decks, or I play like Hero Beat Edison format as well, because more linear decks I feel like definitely suit my, smooth brain more than stuff like this. So I really would love to see like a deck like this in the hands of a more skilled pilot, and you'll see through the replays that I'm making numerous misplays, but even then I'm still able to succeed with this deck. And so I think that's a testament to the fact that it has potential, that there are some, genuinely good things at work here. So let's get into it. I've have a whole other video about this deck, and I'll kind of, I'll link it there in the description, because I think I go a bit more in depth into everything. I'm not going to go super in depth here, but I will talk about kind of the theory behind why I built the deck this way and why I think it works. My main thinking when I originally started building this deck was I just felt like the more kind of traditional versions of fairy that were really heavily reliant on recruiters just weren't working in the kind of modern Edison format. And I think a lot of other people have come to that conclusion as well. And, we've seen other versions of fairies that have succeeded lately that are, really heavy on like the mill engines, running the, solar recharges and stuff. But then you have like the other end of the spectrum, like the more trap heavy, more traditional versions of fairies as well. And, I think this deck kind of falls somewhere in the middle. It, of course, wants to get Christia, into play as quickly as possible. It's like the best boss monster in the format. It's, incredibly oppressive, and it obviously wants to get Christia going as quickly as possible. But at the same time, this deck is really heavy on a lot of like 2-card combos that swing advantage heavily in your favor. And the kind of key, linchpin between all of this is Venus, the probably most, controversial card, in the deck. Now, let's get the obvious out of the way. Like, you're playing vanillas, like you do brick. This deck has a lot of bricks. You're playing 2 shine balls, triple Caius, triple Christia. Like there's cards that you will definitely brick. There's games that you will lose just because you brick. Now, there's ways that this can be remedied, I'm sure. Like, my ratios are not perfect on any of this. There's plenty of things that I could potentially change. But at the same time, Venus really combos well with a lot of these potential bricks. So the thing that I like about Venus is that it instantly is getting fairies into play. Like, you're instantly getting fairies onto the board, into the game, and you don't have to rely on like recruiters. Because I feel like most of the time playing more traditional fairies, and maybe it's just me being bad, but like if I just attack a Shining Angel into like a D prison, I just feel like I already lost. Like the game it just feels like it's over, because, for whatever reason. So I really like I said, Venus's ability to quickly get fairies into play. And of course, Venus also combos well with a lot of cards in this deck. Like I said, these 2-card combos are helping you gain advantage while you are trying to, set up Archlord Christia, of course. Now, I guess I'll briefly talk about why 2 Shine Balls as opposed to 3. I think in like Tengu format where, the deck is very different, the Agents deck, I definitely think 3 is like mandatory. But in a deck like this, I am willing to, sacrifice the added benefit that a 3rd Shine Ball would bring to minimize the risk of drawing it. It's the same theory I had in my GOAT format fairy deck that I topped with. I just feel like it really depends on what kind of version of the deck you're playing. And a version like this that's really focused on these quick little 2-card combos to gain advantage, I feel like I like the 2 Shine Balls. I could see reasoning for 3, definitely could, but that's just my, idea at least. I'm willing to minimize that advantage, that, sacrifice that advantage that a 3rd Shine Ball will give me in order to decrease the chance of drawing it, because it's just a brick. It's all it is. It's just a brick. I mean, obviously you can pair it with like Herald, but that never really feels amazing. And you'll see in some of these replays, like you just draw them sometimes. And if I had a 3rd, I don't know if I could play this deck, like, because it is absolutely painful when you are hoping for a great top deck and you draw into this vanilla ball. But I've played these versions of these decks a lot, so I've kind of become used to it at this point. So like I said, Venus combos well with a lot of the deck. This is really the heart and soul of the deck, because Venus, of course, sets up tribute plays. That's why I have the triple Caius in the main. I could, maybe see a reason to cut down one of these Caius just to increase consistency. But like I said, it really combos well with a lot. We have the Hamster Raikou engine, which of course goes well with Caius, and then the Venus, like I said, getting monsters onto the board very quickly allows you to set up tribute plays with Caius. And a lot of games I win not even from Christie. A lot of games I win just from the the Caius conga line, and a lot of our monsters are very sticky, and so it really helps you set up the Caius. So that's kind of Venus combos well with Caius. It combos well, of course, with Christia. Like, you are just getting fairies into play very, very quickly. And a lot of times, if my opponent plays pretty passive back to, like, if I open summon Venus, summon 2 Shine Balls, and my opponent is pretty passive, like, I can sometimes just like tribute off double Shine Ball for Christia. And sometimes I can do that and even set it up where there's 4 fairies in grave, so that if Christia were to die, I can just actually special summon her. So there's a lot of like double tribute for Christia that happens in this deck because of the Shine Balls, because of the Hamster Raikou engine. So Venus also combos well, of course, with Creature Swap, which is kind of one of the cards I think is really underrated in this deck. I think it depends on like the deck. I don't necessarily like it in most Edison format strategies, but I think it's kind of nuts actually in this deck. I mean, there's been games where my opponent will set a Raikou or Hamster of their own, and I'll go like Venus, summon a Shine Ball in attack position, swap it over, get their flip effect monster, and like I've already accrued so much advantage just from that one play. And I think you just go Mega Plus from certain instances like that. You'll see in some of the replays, some of the Creature Swap stuff that I was able to pull off. Of course, Shining Angel pairs well with Creature Swap. But, and Creature Swap doesn't just work with Venus and the Shine Balls and the Shining Angel. It works with your Hamster Raikou. You can do some kind of tricky stuff where you flip whatever and then send it back over to your opponent, blah, blah, blah. There's plenty of, things that you can do with Creature Swap in the deck. So I think this is a really good card, really, in this strategy. I think it's kind of key to what we're doing here. Venus also combos well with Avarice, which, it's interesting, the ratios here. I think some people would argue like you need to play 3, but I don't want to brick on it. And there's also instances where I want to not be avaricing because of Christia. So there could be that, conflict, but it doesn't really ever come up in games that I've played, in the matches I played with this deck. So I don't know. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying about Venus. I just think it has a lot of these like 2 card combos that help you gain advantage. It really plays into our strategy and what, I'm trying to do. Also gets over, deck dev, which is nice because that card is just absolutely blows this deck out of the water. So that's kind of the reasoning behind Venus. Yeah, let's go through some more of the cards. Heralds, makes sense, fairy deck. The card trooper, I honestly think this might be the one thing that I would cut. I think that there should probably be a Sangan somewhere in this deck. Yeah, I think in another version of the deck I had a Sangan in here. I don't know what happened to it, but card trooper is good. I mean, it's fantastic. It combos well with like Call the Haunted. It sets up your Christia, gets your kind of grave saturated, goes well with the Avarice, but I think, this deck, like many fairy decks, can suffer from the too many normal summon syndrome, and, just another one into the mix that doesn't really, like, this doesn't exactly, like, combo well with the Venus or, a lot of the engine and stuff, so I would almost consider cutting this, to be perfectly honest. I did side it out a few games. It's a fantastic card. I like it, maybe even like side it. I know that would be weird, but I like it into matchups like Hero Beat and stuff like that, but not necessarily against, most of the big decks. So then one DD Warrior Lady. This is just like some spot removal just to kind of go into like the Shining Angel toolbox. Then the 3 Shining Angels. I don't play a Nova Summoner, so I don't have that like ability to crash Shining Angels to make Christie alive. I mean, I can. I would just have to go into like, I would, crash 3 Shining Angels, then like crash an Honest or something, and then, summon Christia, so you don't get to end on like the DD Warrior Lady. But at the same time, it's worth it. Like I said, I don't want this deck to be reliant on recruiters. And, honestly, if there were better fairy options to play, I would almost consider something else other than the Shining Angels. It just didn't come up enough. I think there was one time during the tournament where I actually crashed recruiters to make Christie alive, and to me it's almost not worth playing these extra normal summons that are slower cards. I mean, they're good, they work with the deck, they help you get into your engine, but at the same time, like, I mean, I don't know, I would consider other options here potentially. Then Triple Caius, like I said, can maybe be down to 2. People might wonder why I don't play Chaos Sorcerer in this deck, and I did have it in other iterations of this deck. I think you definitely can play it, but, a lot of it was like Avarice. You're just trying to get things into your grave quickly, and so you don't necessarily want to be banishing. I think that, I'm playing Darks and Lights, but it's not really a Chaos deck, in my opinion. I feel like if you're running, like, more Chaos Fairies, then you run, like, Dimensional Alchemist, which, I don't play in this deck, because I just don't really like that card. I think it's a little slow as well. I mean, it depends on the way that the deck is built, but I feel like in this version it really doesn't work. So yeah, the Caiuses, the Double Honest, of course. I didn't see this card that much during the tournament. I definitely wish I would have seen it more, especially in the top cut. One Trigodia. I think this works because you often have a lot of normal summons, you have big hand sizes, and this can open up a lot of avenues for different plays, usually which I will somehow fumble. But one Gores, I mean, this is a potential cut maybe, because I'm running Decree and Call and these traps that stay, but Gores is just so good. Then of course the Triple Christia. I think that in a deck like this, I think 3 is makes the most sense. You want to see it all the time. Then the Hamster Raikou package. What I really like about this is that, of course, like I said, it combos well with Caius, combos well with Creature Swap. You can sometimes double tribute stuff for Christia, but also just having that removal is really, really nice, because people will side in like Vanity's Fiend and those kind of floodgates that can be probably be problematic against a fairy type deck. And I like having this removal, and I also like that this helps with some of the matchups that I previously didn't like with the more traditional versions of fairy, where where they had their own Hamster Raikou, I guess. I don't know if that really makes sense, but anyway, I like it because it adds this kind of level of removal that more traditional versions of fairies don't have. And of course it's milling to help you set up your Avarice, to help you set up your Christia. So then the 2 Avarice, like I said, maybe I play 3, maybe I don't know. 2 Creature Swap, Heavy, BrainCon, MST, Book. I think this is all pretty self-explanatory. Book is, every time I drew it, it felt really nice. Double Decree, I mean, this card can just be an absolute blowout. I think with such a low trap count, I think it's definitely necessary, and I've won many games off the back of this card. especially against certain matchups. If you can drop Christia backed up by Decree, you just win. Call. I threw this in here last minute. The deck was 40 cards, and I went up to 41 last second. Shout out to my teammate on the Birdcage, another fairy god, much better than I am at fairies, BS45, who suggested call a long time ago for this deck, and I finally threw it in there last minute. I really didn't prepare much ahead of this tournament. I've been on kind of a bit of hiatus, and so I just took this old deck list I had, made a few changes, and here we are. Death Shoot and then the Torrential, just as kind of some removal. I don't know. I mean, you go down to 40, you could change some things. I definitely think there's some adjustments that could be made. I think if I were to change things right now, I probably would remove the Card Trooper. I might put in a Sangan, and then maybe I'd remove something for a Battle Fader. I don't know. Like, that extra defense is really nice. I played more like Carpath's version of Chaos Fairies a while back, and I really like how Fader works in the deck. I just think one would be nice because we're lacking defense. And, sometimes now that people kind of know the list, they get really aggro quickly. This deck can suffer from getting kind of rushed down. So maybe that might be a good idea. Can combo well with Creature Swap, but I don't know. Those are some of the kind of changes I'd make to the main deck. The side deck is iffy at best. I mean, like I said, I threw this together kind of last second. The one change that I made from previous versions of this list ahead of this tournament was the addition of these triple D prison into the side, and this went huge. This card won me many games, and I was really glad I put it in here just because I feel like against certain matchups it can be really good to kind of anticipate what your opponent's going to be siding in. Vanity's Fiend, I've seen some Kaiku floating around, Banisher for whatever reason, and also just against the aggro decks Hero Bead or Black Wings. I think having this D prison would be really nice. I was also really worried about Gladiator Beasts, so this came absolutely clutch in my match against GBs, which I'll show here in just a second. Dust Tornado, I don't really know. I guess for Black Wings, if they to try to stop the Whirlwind, but this is not super well thought out. I like Compulse a lot against Vayu, but at the same time, Vayu, you just kind of have to cross your fingers and pray you don't get deck dev'd. I didn't realize that this whole new virus thing is going around where everybody's playing viruses in the main deck of Vayu, and it's gross. I probably wouldn't even have loaded up this deck if I realized that. There was one match against the homie Loger where I got just deck dev'd for 5, and game 1 and then game 2 I bricked, and it was all right, cool. It was a good match. So yeah, he absolutely owned me with that card, and so I don't know if it's so good because you can you compulse their synchro, but then they just deck dev it. So I'm not sure. Lila, the idea behind Lila is games 2 and 3 when I'm going second against some of the decks that could potentially deck dev. I'll side out some of the Hamster Raikou stuff and put these in instead. Because they get over deck dev, they're kind of good removal against some certain floodgate type stuffs. That's the idea. I don't know. One, my body, just, whatever, against certain matchups. Slow release, like it against frogs and other random stuff. Like I said, this is not well thought out. Cyber Dragon, against machines and other aggro stuff. Of course, Consecrated is really good, but it feels like nowadays a lot of the, Black Wings and even Vayu Turbo players are, anticipate the Consecrated and have ways to, kind of deal with it post-board. And then one Electric Virus, against Dragon Turbo or other machine type decks. So the side deck could definitely be adjusted. I think there's some also ways you can side out certain parts of the engine against certain matchups if you really want to get into it. The more I played this deck, the more I realized that the Venus engine is not very good against Black Wings. Because they do piercing, they get the special summons from destroying your monsters. Same thing against Gladiator Beasts. I feel like the Venus engine is not that great against their deck either. Against everything else, I like it, but against those two decks, I really don't. And so there's a way that you can maybe board this out and side in some other stuff to replace it. But I don't know. I haven't thought that hard through it. So that is the deck. Obviously, like I said, strengths. I feel like you get these nice 2-card combos. You gain advantage. You can really play the grind game with the stack. Especially if you go late game, Avarice can just absolutely win you the game, because if you have, enough monsters in grave, you can perfectly set up your graveyard so there's exactly 4 fairies, and then you just drop Christia and win. So that's the general idea behind it. 2 card combos revolving around Venus while trying to set up your Archlord Christia. That is it. Weaknesses, bricks, deck dev, and I think that, and kind of getting rushed down as well. So I think that sums it up well enough. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions, or if you have ideas, drop them in the comments. I'm totally open. I'm not like the best deck builder in the world, but I do feel like I threw something together nice here. So there's definitely changes that could be made. All right, let's get into some replays. Honestly, most of the matches were kind of blowouts, like game to game were blowouts. So you're going to see some of that. I think the best match was actually my top 8 match that I lost, and I am going to show that because I think it shows like the strengths and the weaknesses of the deck. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. And please know, I don't really know what I'm doing. I played probably like 100 to 200 matches of Edison ever. So I know some of the card interactions. I know some of the matchups. I don't know a lot about rulings, and I think that this deck has a lot of lines sometimes, and I really don't consider them. I probably missed lethal several times. There's going to be just a lot of misplays, so know that right away. That's why I would really like to see some, very skilled duelists pick this deck up. I think that would make me really happy. So I'm playing against supposedly, I think they ended up finishing first in Swiss. I was their only loss, and this is one of those like blowouts. I think we'll get into it. So I open, pretty good hand here. You like seeing some of these. There's a lot of cool, kind of interactions going on here. So of course, just set hamster pass. They go vayu, smartly expecting it to maybe be a Raikou or something. This is round 2, so they know what I'm on, I think. But they probably saw the Raikous and expected that. So there's a couple things to do here. Like I don't know. I'm not going to go through all the lines every time because I'm definitely not going to do the correct thing most of the time here. But I think just like Caius, the vayu makes the most sense, and then I'll keep the Raikou flipped in case he has like Gores. Like I could even just double tributed for Christia there, but I don't know, that felt a little preemptive. There's also this whole thing where I have Call the Haunted set, so I could herald something and then Christia back, Call the Haunted, maybe like in response to something he does, but that feels a little risky, especially we're establishing things. We've got a Raikou set, we could see what our mills are first, because I could even mill a Christia, or I could just get to 4 fairies anyway. I decided not to herald this. I don't know. This feels just a little preemptive of me to try to call the Christia back, not knowing, knowing especially that he thought I might have had Raikou, so he didn't set anything. So, he could have any sort of trap lineup prepared to set at the end of this turn. So I didn't feel like, getting that aggressive. So, and that is what happens. So let's see. We get to 2 fairies. So again, if I were to herald, I could, ditch Herald and Honest and then set up Christia. I also just have like the Avarice live. I want to go for that, but it doesn't really feel like the play. I think I just decided to just screw it. Let's just attack. It gets deprisoned. Okay. Glad we got the deprison out of the way, and I'll just pass. Don't really have any actionable, moves to make, I don't think. So I don't know. I could be missing something. I usually am. This deck, like I said, it's kind of tough to play. I'll just take the damage. Yeah, what do I do here? So I decide to use the MST on the Torrential. Oh, this was a mistake. This is my idea here. Is I remembered that he had the Necrogardna, and I meant to summon the Honest. Yes, I meant to summon the Honest and then swap it. And then when he uses the... Yeah, I meant to do the Honest, swap it, and then attack with the Grepher. And then when he goes to use the Necrogardna, I would herald it, and on top of that, I would call the Haunted back one of the Caius. So he would have to use it, and then I would have the Orange Light to negate the Necro Gardener. That was my original idea, and then I realized as soon as I summoned this, I was like, oh shit, he still has this, and I don't have the kill shot here. So I don't know. I definitely messed this turn up. Goes heavy. Just sets one. I think about it for a second because I'm now at 3 fairies. So I just summon the Honest, just try to attack with both. So he lives another day, but you know, we can kind of see the writing on the wall here. I keep Honest on board just in case like I need to, like I could just double tribute this off for like Gores or something and then make Christia. Which I don't know why I don't do that right now. Like I think I should just double tribute this for Gores and then summon Christia. And then I could grab Orange Light. And then I could Avarice and hopefully draw a fairy to negate the Raikou, and then I would just win from there. So yeah, that was the much better line. Oh well, live and learn. I think this match specifically, I remember being a bit painful with, you know, some of the decisions that were made for sure. Hopefully the gameplay is just a little bit better as we get further into the game. I just set Torrential. Like I said, I don't really have a ton to do here, so just pass. Oh, here was good. I tried to drop Gores on with Torrential set, so that was cool. So I let my opponent know I have Gores. Oh, the mistakes start spiraling. Okay, I booked the Gale, because then I plan on just attacking into it with the Honest. I think it gets Solemns, and then I just pass again. I decide to Torrential this. He sets another one. Venus is a nice draw, though it gets Bottomless. Yeah, I don't really know what's happening here. Like I could even consider heralding this, but that doesn't really make sense, I don't think. And now I shut off my Gores by setting the Decree, but I mean he knows I have it at this point because I just played like a goober. Now he's able to wall up a bit. I am at 4 fairies, or at 2 fairies, and so I'm like, all right, if there's some sort of Armory Arm play here to make. Which I'm surprised, honestly, I found this because, like, I have had the Armory Arm OTK explained to me like 4 times, and I still don't get it. So I read the card, saw that I would probably win if this attack went through. So that game took way too long to finish. I don't want this video to be like 4 hours long, so I'm going to speed this up a bit. Always nice seeing Venus and Caius in the opening hand, so I think this all just makes sense. Summon both of these. Summon them both in attack just in case like this is a Raikou. I don't know if this is the correct sequencing, but... And then I decide to not attack with that one to play around Gores. I don't know. So here I basically decide like I'm going to lose my book, but like why not heavy? Because then I just get the plus with Caius. I have the Caius, Venus, I have Honest in hand. I can get in a ton of damage and have this Compulse to back up anything. And I put him basically just, you know, to his 4 cards. And I think that just seems like a decent trade to make here. He makes a Mind Crush play to chain, so I get to discard 1 from his hand. I hit the vayu, which really doesn't do anything. So then I go Caius. I think this is all pretty straightforward. I'm just going to fast forward it a bit because you can kind of see where this is going. I set the Compulse, and he just bricks. So let's see. Yeah, he had Vanity's Fiend, Caius, Oppression, and Return. So pretty good showing for the deck. I did not play very well game 1. I mean, you know, the deck did its thing. I just should have capitalized quite a bit quicker, and then game 2 he just bricked. So that's kind of how a lot of the tournament matches went, to be completely honest. So, okay, this is the top 8 match that I lost. And I think this was probably the best match of the tournament. Really showed off the deck, but also showed off some of the weaknesses, showed off some of my weaknesses. And in general, this is just so you know, this is against Hero Frog. And I feel like the Hero Frog matchup is pretty skill intensive. That's, why I lose. So I had an hour-long match in the Edison Format War League. I was playing this deck versus 10FD on his Hero Frog deck, and it came down to the wire, just like this duel does. So, so I really like seeing Venus Creature Swap, of course. Glad to see no Shine Balls. I don't really like it that much against Hero Frog because, what am I always going to swap? You kind of want to save the swap for later once they have like a Caius on board, or when you can swap for a Ab-Zero or something. But I just want to get these out of my deck as quickly as possible. No need to set the Torrential, I don't think, here. So he goes BrainCon. This is a very smart play, getting after both of the Shine Balls as quickly as possible. This is what people, when I play against really good duelists, they tend to understand that these cannot stick on board. And so he makes the smart decision of getting after them very quickly. And yes, I could herald the substitute here, but I decided not to because I have Torrential to clear his Frog Lock, and also because I really want to save, at least in my opinion in this matchup, I think it's best saved for the tribute monsters themselves, for the Monarchs. So does all this stuff, ends on that. I kind of think about what should I set here? I could get tricky and set heavy and Torrential, but I don't know. I decided to just set the Torrential because I feel like if he had a back row to set, he might have set it there because he doesn't need to use Treeborn Frog. But I don't know. I don't really know how good frog players do their thing. I don't really know how this whole thing even works. I assumed, he probably goes for the whatever, the 400 attack, destroys a spell and trap, whatever it is, Unifrog here. And so I feel like this is as good as ever to go ahead and Torrential. So I don't feel horrible about my position. I definitely would like to start seeing a Christia here soon. Would be amazing. Or at least an Avarice to hope maybe recycle my stuff. But I do feel pretty good when he goes into the Miracle Fusion and makes Ab-Zero, because this creature swap Shining Angel play kind of becomes available. And so I think that's the obvious move here. That does put me at exactly 4 fairies, so I decided to go ahead and go for DD Warrior Lady. And then I just set the Decree. So this all seems pretty straightforward. I'm pretty much planning on heralding any, tribute play he makes here. So I do. Another pretty smart move to summon this, main phase 2, because, to protect against the lethal push. I draw the Gores with the Decree again, so I don't know. This Gores really didn't do a lot in either of these matches so far, watching this back in hindsight. Okay, so then he has Caius. Unfortunately, he had both the Ryza and the Caius, but, that's what the deck does. So, and now my Gores is, obsolete because I set the Decree. And maybe I just should have held the Decree. Maybe that was just, my bad. Because right there, yeah, Gores would have gone absolutely huge. That might have changed the course of this match. So I'll go ahead and Avarice, doing everything but the Shine Balls, just because I'm so low. Venus is really not accomplishing a ton. And yeah, it seems like just a decent, play to make. Regardless, I'm really not in a good spot if he has, any other Monarch, but. And I just completely brick draw into. So I just have a ton of spell and trap removal against, a deck that hasn't set anything yet. So that kind of sucks. Yeah, I just, set something to survive, but this game's over. So we will go on to the next. Might as well get as much information as I can. Not like I'm going to do anything with it, but, Okay. On to game 2. not the start I wanted in top 8, and then I open with the ball, but we will not be dissuaded. It will happen. It happens. Siding, I don't think I did a ton different siding. I did side into the D prisons, I'm pretty sure, and I actually kept the decree in. Interesting. I remember thinking about this, like even if I can just trade 1-for-1 with one of their, things, that it might become worth it. So I don't know. What's the move here? I think I want to start just going on the aggressive, start getting after it. Yeah. Normally I like to keep the shine ball in hand to pair with the, potential orange light draw, but I think because I have the call Christia thing, if I do draw into orange light, I'll, try to do that instead. And plus this ensures I have at least some sort of board presence to make sure I can summon Caius next turn, or even double, summon for Christia. Yeah, it makes sense that he would send Treeborn early and then set some sort of spell and trap removal. I should have probably been able to read that a little better, because I don't know. I feel like this decree is very valuable. So I don't know. Basically secures like my Christia, doing her thing. So I go ahead and just decide to like deep prison the ocean. I don't know if that's correct or not, but get the hero out of here. What do I decide to do here? I believe that this trap is a real trap he has set, and I want to, kind of bait it out before I end up using the Christia. So yeah, I could like double, tribute for Christia, but if it does happen to get like destroyed, it would go back to the top and I have no fairies, doing anything. So I decided, let's just, use the classic Caius Plus and get rid of this Treeborn, and then this Torrential is just nasty. I didn't anticipate this. Gross. Torrential that really, swings the tide back in his favor. So what do I decide to do here? I either set Raikou or go Venus. I have the like call, but what is the call like really accomplishing, I don't know. And then I do decide to use the call to go Caius. I think just to get in damage and to like make sure that I'm maintaining some sort of board presence to maybe try to, summon Christia next turn. I think this deck really requires you to have like a board presence, to have some tempo in your favor. And, having that, like I said, that board presence really helps you, execute your plays. When you have all these normal summons in your hand and you're behind on tempo, it's not good. So I wanted to do that. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that was my thinking. He summons Alias, or Stratos, sorry, and then destroys my Caius, so I can't double tribute for Christie. I don't know if he did that on purpose. If so, it was really well played. I mean, from what I could see, shout out to my opponent. They played really, really well this match. I was really impressed. Okay, so they go tribute summon for Mally. So now I have some things to think about here. They decide not to attack into the Raikou. So I'm at 3 fairies. So my thinking was I could flip Raikou, not mill, and then attack an Honest, or I could like crash it. But I think I take the Gambler's route and just flip it, and like I hope I don't mill more than 2 fairies. And I mill exactly 1 fairy. Sometimes you just got to risk it for the biscuit. And then, yeah, I summon Christia because that puts me at 4. I grab Venus, and then attacking with Venus using Honest is enough for game. So that will do it. That's what this deck can do, just out of nowhere. If you can get this, graveyard set up right, it seems like it happens a lot that Raikou will mill into exactly 4 fairies. And, I think from the outside, it's like, oh, it's lucky, like how it's lucky you got exactly. But it just feels like it always happens, like so much so that it doesn't really feel like luck at this point. It feels like the way the deck is, the ratios are, like every time you mill, you usually are going to hit, you know, 1 or 2 fairies. So it works out nicely. Pretty good hand, honestly. If I have a lot of monsters, but, you know, having the Trag is nice. So on to game 3. Feeling pretty good at this point. So I had some decisions to make. I could consider, like, you know, doing something with Shining Angel, but then I'm like, I really want to keep this Herald Venus or Herald Shining Angel together, and I really want to not draw into any Shine Balls, so I'm willing to let him just attack over the Venus, and even if he summons another monster, I can at least keep 1 Shine Ball around for the Caius potentially, and plus this keeps me at a decent hand size for the Tragodia, and I'm like thinning out my deck, you know, so this all seems pretty reasonable here. I don't think there's any reason to go like crazy with any brain con type stuff. He rode us into Ocean, which makes me feel pretty good because now I know he's probably got a lot of monsters. And so, yeah, he attacks into both. I decided to drop Trag here. I don't know. Like, maybe I could have held it, but I don't know. I feel like I just want to start, you know, putting up pressure as quickly as possible. Yeah, like I said, Caius Conga Line. What is my plan here? There's some options. Like I could steal something with Trag, but what is that really accomplishing? And plus, I'm losing my Herald thing, and I really want to get value out of this Caius. So I want to save Brain for the second Caius, but I think using one of the Caiuses here just makes the most sense. And then just, you know, getting aggressive. Maybe there was some ordering thing I could have done to do more damage. I really hope he doesn't have Gores, because then I'm kind of forced to use the Herald. And it's something that I really would like to save for like a Monarch, and he did have Gores. And, you know, maybe I could have played around it better. Maybe I could have found a way to, you know, navigate that situation better. I don't know. I really do think, like, we will see the match play out. It's really down to the wire, but I think this might be a pretty key decision point, because this, like, you know, going neg to stop the Gores, I don't know. Because then my Trag's low now, but I still have Brain Caius. Like, I'm kind of risking of, like, just hoping that he has bricks, and because that's kind of like the vibe I've gotten so far, and then I can just get really aggressive. So he Soul Control, or yeah, Soul Exchange, summons a Caius of his own. I thought about this for a while as well. I just don't like setting stuff into frogs, of course. But I also considered, you know, potentially just going, I'm already at 5 fairies. I needed Avarice to make Christie alive. So I kind of consider maybe going like attack, crash, then go DD Warrior Lady out the Caius. But I decided to take the risk, just hoping that he doesn't have another tribute monster, and I just set the Shining Angel, and it works out. So then I grab the DD Warrior Lady. He goes substitute, subs to Toad, and this play would be really, really strong if I didn't have Brain Caius. So I think this was the correct move by my opponent to sacrifice their own Caius to set up the dupe block. And now I feel amazing because I have Brain, Caius, and a Dust Shoot to follow up. I am a little worried about Miracle Fusion, but at least DD Warrior Lady outs that. You know, I'm going to lose my board, and I'm getting in for a ton of damage here. So I feel really good about my sitch. So I Dust Shoot after the Treeborn, and I see he's bricked except for the Miracle, of course. So I know Miracle Fusion is going to happen here. He's got Heavy Storm, so yeah, and then he's bricked on Double Mally and a dead Dust Shoot. So I was kind of correct in my thinking that he you know, was clogged up a bit, and I've got him at 800 LP. I just, you know, I pretty much think I've got this game in the bag. So anyway, so then he goes Miracle, which is fine, because then I'm just gonna, you know, trade my DD Warrior Lady into it. There's a lot of great cards I could find that would help me here. Gores, you know, is fine. Like I could I could like consider doing anything else? Not really. I don't think so. I think I like going ahead and just, doing this here. I actually like this play because now, if he does decide to attack, I can just drop Gores and I would be in a really good position, but he does not. I draw into Deep Prison, which kind of sucks because I know he has Heavy Storm, so whenever he's going to make a play, he's going to use it anyway. So I'll wait one turn, see if he tries to attack into the Gores. Draw into Avarice, which is really nice. I do know he has Dust Shoot in hand. I assume he either set like the Heavy or the Dust Shoot unless he somehow drew into another trap. So set the Deep Prison to play around Trap Dust Shoot. And yeah, what do? I grab Caius, Tragodia, Herald, and 2 of the Angels, kind of leave the Venus engine in there. Which, I don't know, I could have considered maybe putting back the Venus engine, but I'm not sure. And then I draw into some pretty good cards. Creature Swap, Raikou. This will help set up some interesting stuff. So, what can I do here? Not really a lot, right? Like, I feel like this is either Dust Shoot or Heavy. I know that this is a Mally because I saw his hand and then he tributed it off. So maybe there's something here I'm missing. I don't know. Sucks to draw into the other Deep Prison because it's like I need, Gores to resolve, but also I need these Deep Prisons to, get some value. But I know he has Heavy, so it's kind of a weird spot to be in. I decided to just set it anyway. I kind of have to because if he has Dust Shoot set, I get Dust Shoot next turn if I don't. So, and I don't think the Raikou is really accomplishing anything here. So, and then I draw into Venus, which is really nice. So, I'm kind of surprised he hasn't heavied at this point, but maybe he's thinking that I'm going to play into the Trap Dust Shoot. And so basically, I'm thinking I probably have game because I flip the Raikou, I pop this new set back row, even if it's Raigeki Break, there's a lot of cards that it could be that I'm not, super concerned about. And then I would go, Venus, summon a Shine Ball. I guess I shouldn't summon a Shine Ball, but I would, creature swap something over. So I guess if he did Raigeki Break that, I couldn't win right off of it right away. But assuming this is, not real, I win here. So, and it ends up being Spiritual Water Art, which he held. Yeah, that was really smart to hold it. And so now he sees my hand. For whatever reason, I'm hoping he sends back Gores, because if he were to, I would just, win on the spot. At least in my opinion. That's not actually true. He sends the creature swap. Yeah, go ahead and mill. I'm at 4 fairies now, so, Interesting I decided to summon this. I'm not sure at this point. I'm like, screw it. Let's just get in for some more damage. Let's just keep putting the pressure on. I know he has a Dead Dust Shoot. I know he has a Heavy Storm, and I know he has a Mally. So he only has 2 cards that I don't know what they are. I guess 3 cards, technically. My opponent uses Raigeki Break. So it was Raigeki Break that was sad. It wasn't the Trap Dust Shoot. It wasn't the Heavy Storm. So yeah, use it on the Venus. Brings back Treeborn. They Heavy. And then now, because I have this Raikou sitting here, I can't use Gores. And that is just, yeah, that really, really hurts. I mean, this match was so freaking close. So this was a crazy move. Tribute off the Treeborn for Mally. Then go Caius. I don't know what happened, but he Caius the Mally to get the extra 1,000 damage to do as much damage as possible to get me to 200. That was cool. And then I draw into Venus, which just does nothing here. There's really not much that can save me, I don't think. Yeah, maybe like Hamster or something to kind of, get me out of it. But yeah, and I see summons another monster and I just scoop. So that was a really tough match. I think I could have played that a bit better. Just some unfortunate things that happened, but also just a really, fun match. Shout out to my opponent. We both, were really low there. Very intense match. And, those last few turns, we both were taking, a minute or two to think on each play. It was pretty intense, but that is what knocked me out of top 8. Okay, moving on. This is round 1. I am playing against Gladiator Beast, a matchup I have never won with this deck. GBs is horrible into, or like, this deck is horrible into GBs, but you'll see some of the side cards come in clutch here. And also, I happen to draw very well. So I decided to just set the hamster, set the decree. He sets something back. I don't know what he's playing at this point, but so I'm gonna play it a little bit kind of conservatively. I could definitely like summon one of these in, attack position, but I'm just gonna play it slow. I go attack, he deprisons, I decree. Maybe there was some other, shenanigans I could have done there. Like I could have, definitely like double tributed for, Christia or something, but just didn't feel like the move to make there. Now that I've got the decree established though, I decide to go on the aggressive, just completely fill up this board. If he has like MST Torrential or MST Mirror Force, then, whatever. I'm not going to try to play around that. Then I double tribute for Christia. There might have been like, other lines in here. Like there might have been something with Herald where I could have made like a synchro to get to, I don't think I could have got to 4 fairies that way, but there might have been another line. There might have been some, I don't know. There might have been something. But regardless, we're in a pretty good spot here. The decree is just doing in work, and he hasn't drawn a monster yet, so. And then sets the farm. So I really don't want to play into Torrential, don't want to play into Mirror Force. I'm just going to like force him to act. I'm way up in cards because of these early, trades. So then I decide to flip it after. Yeah, I'm not sure why I did that, but whatever. Decides to summon a monster, and like our hand is just, too good at this point. There's so many ways we could end this game. Deprisons the Christia. All I know against GBs is you just don't want their monsters to get their attacks to go through. That's all I know. So you got to get rid of them. So then I decided to main phase 2, try to make like a synchro play, but he books the Herald. So I think this was a little bit sloppy. And then I main phase 2 Avarice. I don't know. I don't know what the thinking was there. I'm trying to think of maybe like there's something I can draw that can, get rid of this, but I've already used my normal summon, so I don't really know what it could be. It wasn't the greatest play, but we're still up a ton in cards, so it really doesn't matter what he does. So I could Caius, I could creature swap. I think I decided to kind of just take the slower approach to it and go Venus and then go for the creature swap play. Many options. That's game. So Decree did it. He didn't find a monster early. That also did it. And I think the deck, did its thing. If you're allowed to kind of, start flipping hamsters and summoning Venuses with, a Christie in your hand, uninterrupted, it's pretty much over. So I see Iatos. I don't know, like I wasn't aware at this point of like the Iatos GBs build, so I don't really know what the hell's going on. I think this is pretty plain. Decided to set the hamster. Then, I have some decisions about what to set. I think it's Deprison Decree. Yeah. So that way I can, use the Deprison and then, of course, flip Decree afterwards. They Compulse, which that actually does kind of hurt a little bit because it kind of sets me back in tempo. But decide to Deprison the Retiari. Use this book. I think this is all kind of straightforward. Obviously, the Yatos hits hard, but, I don't know. I don't want to get this whole GB engine going. Like I said, I don't know what this deck really does all the way. I decided to Decree in the end phase. There maybe could be an argument to hold it since he only set one and wait to chain it to something, but I don't know. So I decided to go ahead and... I think the knee-jerk reaction would be to set hamster, but I decided to summon hamster, attack over the Retiari, and then set the book. Yeah, I kind of play into heavy storm here, but whatever. So Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was the move. Because he has another GB, but whatever. I think I just should have just booked this, but then I lose this to the Guardian Yatos, and I only have Raikou, so I can't get back over this anyway. So yeah, I think I like this. I think it's fine. I was surprised. I thought he was going to go for the spell and trap guy here to get after the decree. So I was definitely happy to see this, because as long as this decree's on the board, I have a fighting chance against Gladiator Beast. Drawn to Caius, which is an amazing draw here. That's what I'm saying. This deck can sometimes do like the Christie stuff, but then sometimes it just does like the Hamster Raikou Caius, you know, good stuff as well. I assume he's locked out of whatever his trap is from Decree, so I decide to go after the Yatos, and then I'll tribute off that for Caius. Puts me at 4 in Grave, so this Avarice is definitely going to resolve at some point here. So feel pretty good. He goes Smashing Ground, clears it, gets his guys going, which is a little unfortunate. So, but I mean, this deck like really does struggle against GBs, especially with like if you just open Venus with no way to protect it. So, but game 2 I decided, like I said, these D prisons, and ooh, they did some work here. I said to end phase, get rid of his D prison. Yeah, I decided to just Avarice here, kind of look at my hand and see what's going on. This was a little risky. Like maybe I should set brain control before I do this to play around Dust Shoot, but I don't know. This is going to be a long ass video. Yeah, I decided to go for like a synchro play here. I don't know. I really don't know what the move is. I think maybe just set Raikou, but I want to start getting after it. And I know that GB's actually like has a problem dealing with big monsters if you can establish them quickly. So I was like, shit, I'll make Goyo. I mean, maybe you could make like Bryo and then bounce the back row, but I'm glad I didn't because he had a bottomless. So now I'm kind of in a weird spot especially because he drew into another monster. Does all this stuff. Like I said, I don't know how this works. And then I draw a D prison, which is really nice. But I assume, like, I don't know how this deck works, but I think he can, like, tag back out of this into other stuff that can, like, pop my stuff, but I don't know. So the D prison just goes absolutely huge there. Why do I not flip the hamster? I'm not sure. So drawn to Caius. This is just a hamster Raikou Caius game. So I think I want to start getting after his back row. Then of course use the Caius for the monster. He ends up being a Solemn, which that actually does kind of hurt. It's a snowman, interestingly enough. My thinking was here, I pop this and then make Armory Arm backed by D Prison, and I win, but he has Compulse, so. Now that I know that the Snowman Eater's back in hand, that would be bad to make the Snowman Eater. And once again, this D Prison, these just fell into my hand at the perfect time. I think this is like the only way I win this matchup, is if, I draw these nice combination of cards. DD Warrior Lady is huge here. Maybe there's an argument to not attack with this to like avoid losing, but I don't feel like he's going to be able to do that much damage in one turn, especially knowing he has a Snowman Eater in hand. So what's the move here? Oh, this was another weird play. I think the move is probably Bryanag, right? I end up going Stardust. Yeah, so that I can negate the Snowman effect. That makes sense. But then we run into a D Prison, so hey, listen, we've had the D Prisons at the perfect time. I can't be upset about that. Avarice, beautiful pickup. creature swap Christia. And that was another example of, I kind of went quickly through it, but Avarice at the perfect time in the late stages of a game when you have your graveyard right, you can perfectly set yourself up to 4 fairies. I know I'm running 3 Christie. I have 20 cards left in deck. Like, there's a chance I draw one of them. And that is exactly what happens. So I decide let's just go for it here. So even if it is like a Mirror Force, which, yeah, he hasn't used Mirror Force. Even if it is, that puts us back at 4 fairies. So he lives to see another day. You know, pops this guy, blah, blah, blah. I'm at 3 fairies, so I can't quite win yet, but, you know. Yeah, just so I can set it back face down. Yeah, just go for game. He books. I set the hamster, and then he draws into the Atos. So that was a very lucky win against Gladiator Beast. Like I said, I'm not doing, hardcore analysis here. I just want to kind of show off how the deck works and how it functions and how I was able to get wins throughout the tournament. So some of these games were kind of non-games, but at the same time, it'd be doing that. All right, last replay. This is against Cat Synchro, another deck that I don't know, a ton of how it works. I have a general idea. But yeah, seeing that normal summon first turn feels pretty good. I'm considering whether to MSG here to like guarantee that this whole thing goes through, which I decide to do it because now I just, summon Venus, get my Shine Balls, and then attack over the Descendant. I mean, maybe there's an argument to be made to just set the hamster so that I can keep the Herald and the Venus in hand, but this is going to give me some tempo, give me some board presence so that hopefully, he can't clear my board that quickly and I can start getting these hamsters set up. So then I Dust Shoot. Yeah, I see all of this stuff. I think I just try not to overthink it and I just send back Rescue Cat, but I think this still leaves him some plays in hand. So Cyber Dragon, so he's gonna be able to clear 2 of my stuff, and then he's gonna be able to get his Avarice close to going here by going into Thought Ruler Archfiend, drawn to Christia, which is nice. Still at 2 fairies in grave, 1 in hand, 1 on the board. So I consider going like Armory Arm Christia, but I don't know. I feel like this trap is probably real, so I kind of want to, get through it first, even if it lets him, gain LP. If I can get Christia going and having like a Herald to back it up, I'm in a pretty good spot. So we'll just let him gain life. Like I said, there's something here I might have missed, but I don't know. What do I decide to do? So I decided to pop the Oppression. I don't know if I knew it was the Oppression. Now I'm at 5 fairies. I literally don't know what I end up doing here. I'm going Goyo. That seems fine. Because at least, if this doesn't go through, I still have, some of these. I have a Raikou set, I have a Torrential, and I have the Herald Christia. So, it doesn't feel amazing, but definitely feel like, thanks to some of these, 2-card trades I talked about, we are able to go up a lot in advantage. I've been able to steal a Thought Ruler Archfiend, which is sick. And he goes Arabellum, Raikou. Makes Cataster. That allows him to go Avarice. Like, maybe there's a world I just, Herald the cat. brain control. Now I'm like wishing, yeah, I probably think I should have. So now he gets the thought ruler back. I ask, do I take damage? I don't know how this format works. Okay. So where are we at here? I need to avarice at some point to make Christie alive. Because Christie is over. I'm trying to think of some options. Like, I could consider just going Raikou, like pop a back row, and then, you know, just flip Torrential, and then normal summon Card Trooper, but I don't know. That doesn't feel amazing. I think I just, try to get rid of one of the back row, hopefully like some sort of battle trap, and then I can, you know, try to get this Goyo Guardian attack to go through. I don't know what this orange light play is. This doesn't feel good. I don't know what's going on here. I go for a Thought Ruler Archfiend of my own. I don't know, y'all. I have no explanation for this. I think that this negates Bottomless. I didn't realize that Bottomless isn't target, so that's cool. And yeah, now I'm kind of in trouble. Luckily, I have this Torrential, which is going to help me out big time, but still not a great place to be. So I decide to go Trooper, Torrential. I really don't want to use Trooper's effect because I've already, you know, pretty saturated my graveyard. I don't want to mill any Avarices. I want to find them. So yeah, drawn to Honest. And that's that. So after all of that, I'm up just one card, basically half a card. He goes Cats. This, I think, was definitely, I don't know if that was intentional, but I definitely think my opponent should have attacked there with the Arabellum and ripped a card. But especially if they end up attacking with this Android anyway. Maybe they're worried about Gores, so I'm not sure. No, they decide not to. Okay, so they were worried about Gores. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I think I could maybe even consider just being patient here, but I don't want to just die out of nowhere for no reason. So I'll go ahead and do like the Honest creature swap. It doesn't feel amazing. Like, this is not the best usage of this card, but if I had like a, you know, Shine Ball to send over or a Shining Angel, I'd feel much better. Minecon. Then he goes for the Arabellum attack. Obviously hope he hits the Christia. But regardless, this game is not looking good anyway. I definitely had a lead. Now watching this back, I blew my lead hardcore here. I just summoned Venus. Nothing else to do. This is all kind of, you know, prolonging the inevitable. All right, on to game two. So I set the Shining Angel, set the Dust. I'm curious why I set this instead of the Hamster. Oh, it was because I was worried about mind control. So I wanted to kind of do a mind control test there first. Yeah, I don't know. Some options here. I could, you know, just trade DD Warrior Lady into it. I could Caius. I could just turn Shining Angel to defense and set a Hamster. That's what I end up doing. Goes Caius of his own, so I'm definitely taking some big damage here. Now I'm going to be kind of forced to use my own brain Caius. Drawn to a Shine Ball. Boo. You know, this is all pretty straightforward here. End phase Dust. It was a Dust Shoot, and then I draw into the second Shine Ball. Haven't seen a Venus yet. This is absolutely tilting, but this is like the nature of this deck. It happens. So why do I not summon the DD Warrior Lady. I don't know. Maybe I have a read on what he has at this point or something. Oh, so I can set the Raikou main phase too. Makes sense. Makes sense. Boom. That's going to wrap it up. Despite drawing 2 Shine Balls, Caius was just doing its thing. Nice hand here. So, a couple options. I really want to save the book to like protect the Christia from like brain control and stuff, and also to prevent him from making synchro plays. I feel like the book can be really crucial in this matchup, because I considered like maybe either, you know, summoning Shining Angel and attacking and booking, or doing the same thing with Venus. I considered just summoning Venus, going 2 Shine Balls, and then just passing to like, you know, get that board presence established. But I realized from that last game, I've been a little bit passive, and like that turn where he went Cyber Dragon Caius and I just took a bunch of damage, like that could have just, you know, killed me out of nowhere if I didn't have a clapback. So I wanted to, you know, kind of take it to him a little bit here. If he has a D prison set, he has a D prison set, but we get the nice plus on the Kaiku. So then I set the book. Maybe could even have held the book, not sure. He goes Cyber Dragon of his own, gets his plus back, goes into Chimera Tech, which this is all fine. I decide to save the book again, kind of risking it here. Namely because there's a 50% chance he hits a Shining Angel, which I wouldn't mind at all, because that's getting a fairy into the grave. It's not really doing a ton for me. And then I can make plays next turn. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I should have booked. I decided to take the risk here, and it pays off. Decided to take both. Draw into Deep Prison, which is a good pickup to help protect me. So now I have several options. Like I said, I'm at 2 fairies, so there's plenty of ways that I can, you know, make Christie alive by, depending on what his trap is, of course. But, you know, Venus, I could crash Shining Angels. I could summon Venus, crash a Shine Ball and a Venus. There's a few crash options here. So I decided to go with the Shining Angel. Okay, it all goes through, which feels really nice. So I go ahead and do that. Do it again, take 200. And then I go DD Warrior Lady. This was something where I could maybe have considered like just not attacking here with the DD Warrior Lady. No, I need to anyway, because then he'd attack back over it. So I don't know. Like, I'm about to go so huge with this Christie anyway that it doesn't really feel necessary to have to waste the DD Warrior Lady. But it's going to get, you know, attacked over next turn anyway by probably the Arabellum or something. So I was like, I'll just take the trade 1-for-1 and, you know, shut off his Avarice. So then main phase 2, go Christia. It gets Solemned, which, again, I was not expecting the Solemn. And that's pretty nasty, because that like pretty much already feels like, all right, I have the game in the bag once this Christia hits the board, and it does not hit the board. So I think to use the D Prison's fine here. Go Venus. Call's a nice pickup. He thinks for a bit. I'm surprised he thought, because I would assume you just go for the book, but maybe he had other things in mind. Does end up going for the book. If I was really big brained, I would like standby phase, you know, just go Christia, but that seems a little preemptive. I didn't know that he was gonna, you know, drop a Sork here. So Sork comes down, and he goes Gravekeeper's Descendant. Definitely lucky that my opponent drew the Descendant here. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting spot, because there's a world where I can like save the... No, it doesn't make any sense. Never mind. Ignore me. So yeah, I just go ahead and just do this. Let's just get after it. Then I draw into Caius, perfect top deck. And this is how a lot of games are won with this deck. Is I'll have Christie on board, and I'll have other like monsters doing their thing, and then I'll just draw into a Caius, and then just end the dang thing. So that was it. GG's. So I just wanted to show some replays, show the deck in action. I know that it wasn't the best, the most hard-hitting analysis in the world. I know, my play was really, really sloppy, but, I wanted to show the kind of deck in action, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Yeah, I put these in here because these are like things I would consider changing in future iterations of it. This was long-winded, I know. I apologize. But yeah, for those of you that enjoyed, thanks for watching. Like I said, I would just encourage you, if you have ideas about decks that you think can work, to give it a shot. Like, believe in it. You really can make it happen. And if this deck looks like something fun to play, I would definitely encourage you to try it out. Make it your own. If you think there's changes you want to make, then make them. I do think that some of the, there's a delicate balance here to make a lot of this engine work. Part of the problem that I ran into from time to time was siding, because it's really hard to figure out what to side out, because if you side out too much, you're really killing your engine. And it's a delicate balance, because if I side out the Caiuses, then I'm not able to convert off of the, Hamster, Raikou, Shine Balls that are on board. If I, were to side out too many fairies, then all of a sudden Christia and Herald get weird. So it's really hard to, balance some of the siding. And so I think that's something that maybe people could figure out. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Like I said, I have another, video or two in store ahead of the GOAT Format World Championship. And then at that point, I'm going to kind of go back into my shell again. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Until the next one. Bye.